This is Audible. Audible Studios presents Breezeway, written by John Ashbery, read by Christian Bale.
The dream of a rabbit fiend. The 50-foot-old masterpiece, that awful necklace, is that good for you? I mean, do you like it any better? Tree stumps. Oh, Mr. Saltina, dear, it's good before anything else is. We're not opening today. Her intentional steel embrace scuttled it, which is not to say you're not to proceed. On the contrary, we like you more than when we were at school, we and they. There are good times in everybody's satchel, nor do we all get a free pass. That would be a split decision, as they call it. How else is the planned brotherhood to float forward? Watch her, she'll donate a medal to the crowd for a flag. It's why we call each other members. We can get this stuff out of here. A little bit more power in the shins will come to seem appropriate. That's your cue. Don't let on I was here helping with the tables sometimes. Oh, it was awful the way they rushed him past us and a few stragglers. We've been told to meet up with Destiny at a corner of the fairgrounds, a pearl in fragments. It's so fun. A dollop here, a mess of particles there. Not everyone sees it as you do, which is right for them, no matter what territory they own, and at times wander back to, unthinking, forgetting if it's a lurid sky, can be just one thing, or under certain conditions, definitive. Why I never... The sad thing... He has a lazy father in Minnesota. I hope you never have to do this in life with its crazy little darkened rooms. People are standing, an accurate jumble, familiar rows, happy campers. And if the water tastes funny, she must be pretty young. That came from a tree. Chinese fire drill. Okay, I said it. Saraband. A dance no one dances anymore. Except maybe in heaven, where they don't have better things to do. These clucks behind a fence, now of course I'll have passed it on differently. They're here, instead of just wondering what they're doing. Gotta keep the red onion. You move a lot in a cab, not to stand up and eat their community. A few scheduling disasters later, the daughters came down to lift us off the shore. We are branded with the name Law. The waves beat them to it. We renounced our offshore inheritance. Oh, what difference does it make when the most mutable among us augment the mystery beyond all proportion, so as to accept the thanks that ingratitude inevitably trails in its wake, for whatever reason. 7-year-old Auric likes this. Will research tell us tomorrow of normal morals? Take a Brooklyn family, in fraction mode, vivid, energizing, throbs to the earlobes. Thanks to a snakeskin toupee, my greyish push boots exhale new patina prestige. Exunt the Kardashians. Exit the emergency room. A nifty-looking broad goes up to a goofy guy. There's the leader with its bow. Well, I wouldn't do it instantly. I'll bring you some. And well, I'm dried. Antique mud wrestlers shape up for the last time. No scuttling of vain things left undone. When you get back, I'll just hit another menu, safe as a can of soup in a mini-mart. Saw you first on Masterpiece Theatre. I used to climb right in. That was funny, yet unbidden. When you were alive, they called him a stooge. My voice to young adolescents is like, whom do you know, hiding their accomplishments in bread? We'll keep on looking for birds of prey. Sunbonnet Sue ought to be learning, lurking, flinging bridges across enormous spaces, the way the Druids did. Perhaps Ottomans now that they've shrunk. Mine's the control, and I must deal with it. Had a little discussion, benches throughout for safety. We walked all the way here in the 18th century. Century of closures. I'm not sure of that, though. Begin marinating and be out of here a whole bunch. Oh, melted butter. The devalued son looks up other people's calisthenics like that's going to change anything. Close himself to waking up, body's not noticed. As for the father, well, he'll become hybrid like most of us, who you walk along in greyness against. The salt has lost its saviour, J'accuse. Dans le métro, miracle sans nom à la station Yavel. Charles Trenet, Ia de l'Oie Joy. We got in on the bottom line at Duck Alley. 10 feet of onions to hoe, and a disruptive sneeze blew in from the Sissy Isles. What I hope to say is, out here west of the water tower, waggish, resourceful, you hardly walk away anymore. At one of the president's meetings, Miss Hazel to you, to oppose the new constitution. I thought you'd like to know about the pictures of the babysitter. Tragic annals, rife again. I was thinking of Tuesday night and none of the background. I hope he feels good. Late in the house, watched by my grandmother's permanent low-grade calceolarias, sure to come back breathless. It's all set up. Strangers at a concession may find they missed the onion maze phase of the celebrity mashup. The open system showing its age, they said. Wherever your son takes you. Holy Grail, Batman. Can't you see it? Ice cream fell on his arm when I went to explore and found students reading papers. Please join the opera about interesting things. Congressman, I was one of the reasons the troubled muse shuns its classical heritage. A positive-negative voice. Russell Weed said to read it, and that's my weakness now. What kind of machine instructs his stiffening member? That would help. I don't think I know who he is. Like a disoriented codfish that drives out to get me. Did I mention cockchafers? I was quite different then. Guilty of changing the money. Look, thanks. So you can do this at home, on a whoopee calendar. But don't do that. Sleeping with naked eyebrows. They didn't realize they weren't modern. And such was the result. But he never forgot that day on the water. That and mutability issues. Capiche? I was quite different then. Yes, I just remembered. She's going to be brutally named after you. His shadow is on the other door. What you see is what you get, neither more nor less, but shapely. Ratcheting up the task forces, he'd hate yours. Tell me, I'd assumed you were a doctor, and it wasn't just the beautiful and exacting places. Worries, I had a few, but everything looked distinct in his calm lens. I kind of forgot why I was coming, what I wanted to say, in Indian August especially. Ripe stares, staggered deaths, bored of humiliation, and they come in here. The ice saints, big-time tumblers. She hardly touched her dinner. Routine evangelism, full of the luck we had just inherited. The uncrazy things that happened on your doorstep. The Welkin. We're patching up an agreement today. The insides won't let us. I sent you copies by return mail anytime soon. We came to a long Q&A period, to which dreams are the smutty alternative. Of these, by far, the most startling, not to be tedious, combat greasiness from Calexico to Texarkana, a splash on everything they do. They can't fit it in. I long to talk with some old lover's ghost. I don't try to understand anything, except our hat should be annoyed. The shoreline goo, stretched far away, struggled to be determined at least several times. It came up before the present house. I grew up there. The ground was still broken around it. Have a dish from the legacy. You're going to be good with that. Ever since he took those vitamins, a gag order without any support for these made 5 in the back seat. They say it's infectious, work stoppage, invisible mending afoot. That is a circa gritty one, backing through town, allowed to have lunch if they don't want it. Once dirty glasses. Summit Valley. I can't tell the doctor about it. City of Bouncers. There's the speed of Golden Ivy, the city wing. 100 this weekend, having wonderful meeting, not slamming, substantiated enough. Where there's feet, the not-so-air-conditioned gent in the foyer invites you to a chop busting. That will patch up today's industrious pose till the paint dries. Yes, and what about you and your project? Afraid it'll grow beyond the sustainable frontier, just like your ma warned you back in the day when sisters alighted from planes looking breezy and collected. Putting it on the take with the haircut I just limbed, the event horizon ought to be in fine shape by tomorrow. Look, we just want to cancel our order. Is that such a big deal, Danny boy? A breakfast radish. Whatever we're dealing with catches us in mid-reconsideration. It's beautiful, my lord, just not made to be repeated, that's all. Counter-terrorists have already invaded parts of England and Spain. Your action dollar at work. Deception figures in quite a few precious things. Although, as I say, it's a small remnant of what others have achieved to avoid being singed. We have a special on revenge tragedy. March is going to be a heavier day. The girls talked about getting ready. When they do, in this or that glen, looks can be deceiving, he shared. Breezeway. Someone said we needed a breezeway to bark down remnants of Superstorm Elias jugularly. Alas, it wasn't my call. I didn't have a call or anything resembling one. You see, I have always been a rather dull-spirited winch. The days go by, and I go with them. A breeze falls from a nearby tower, finds no breezeway, goes away along a mission to supersize red shutters. Alas, if that were only all. There's the children's belongings to be looked to, if only one can find the direction needed, and stuff like that. I said we were all homers, not homos, but my voice dwindled in the roar of Hurricane Edsel. We have to live out our precise experimentation. Otherwise, there's no dying for anybody, no crisp rewards. Batman came out and clubbed me. He never did get along with my view of the universe, except, existential threads from the time of the Peace Beaters and more. He patted his dog past a Fido. There was still so much to be learned, and even more to be researched. It was like a goodbye. Why not accept it, anyhow? The mission girls came through the woods in their special suitings. It was all whipped cream and baklava. Is there a Batman somewhere who notices us and promptly looks away at a new catalog, say, or another racing car expletive coming back at him? Listening tour. We were arguing about whether NBC was better than CBS. I said CBS because it's smaller and had to work harder to please viewers. You didn't like either that much, but preferred smaller, independent companies. Just then, an avalanche flew overhead, light blue against the sky's determined violet. We started to grab our stuff, but it was too late. We segued. And in another era, the revolutions were put down by the farmers, working together with the peasants and the enlightened classes. All benefited in some way. That was all I had to hear. Whatever. Hand with a picture. Here's what we haven't done yet. I'll remember that morning temperature. Meanwhile, I'm cautiously optimistic. That afternoon in bed on the big farm was one of those times, whether we need it. The hem of her story in the edge funny loaves to wash it down with. Too much or too little sleep? Do we have any place to sit? I haven't even got time to talk to you yet. Saw vision ahead of me. Yes, I can't find it now. The work history. What's it called? Do you want us to eliminate the few times it makes me feel great? In ways that you don't know. Neither conspicuously handsome, nor precisely plain. The ego seemed to dote on its imperfections, giggling at thunderstorms, at balding consciousness. I know just how you must feel about it. I'm out of here. News every day, or distressing silences. A dish in a respected room. The one who is coming back, arguing back and forth, hit the wrong bathroom. A power hugely shifting at bottom to wander on that floor. A greeting to my brothers and some of my brothers-in-law. The chic flatness of memory takes the Arctic Brotherhood to task. Where'd you get it at? Don't think of it yet. Awake in the shadow of the school's cactus garden, you have all of the handcuffs, bracelets, whatever, like the exploding manhole covers of Skopje. How open was it? To hear a former First Lady, the victims were visited too, and down there for 10 days without a punchline. He's only got 7 kids, and none of these are tea drinkers. Restrictions led the way. Then grunge too passed, leaving a dimpled wake much prized by amateurs. What to reoffer? Wow! Suddenly a giant snowflake pierced the trellis 35 minutes ago, trapped in honey. So, you've been asleep, because he remembers it. Now I'm supposed to be here. Leaf resting. What do you insist? I'm so happy that it was then that a lot of them prefer it better, yes. And now he's gonna learn it to us, like we were supposed to. Damn! And maybe you weren't that cocksure a weekend they were checked in and out of the gas station. Oh, higher than the grave, always aware, under the occasion, what kind of peace I don't know. We're not gonna be here anymore. It may not be the same thing. Ghost published. Liquidational. Then I wrote my minuet in G. Help you guys. The kind of messages we read on the surfaces of certain clouds. I remember last night I told you what happened. Or the incubator. The response has been lousy. A veiled, intense gaze that could have as easily, it broke your sister's heart. Mrs. Foster's pears. He said she was partially undressed. It turned out neither knew the other's race. Well, his dad says he was set up. He began to record other people. I've got a doctor's appointment Friday, not dinner for quite a while. And where it happened? My silver deer, or ear, my sled less than a newborn stove, in his office somewhere. Now he's scouting it. The date on the drawer. These are interesting to me. Take a close look. Alarmingly, the two sides had come together. Let's just say there are people in there. His father didn't laugh in this manner, who failed all night and didn't let us know when it was ready. What crumbles before it crumbles? An abundance of samples. Andante and filibuster. Remember last month when he was saying doomed lovers syndrome uproots us all? They all want to hear that. And hanging them out to dry slumpingly caresses the center for new needs. And will stiffen some near the walled city and find 100% electricity of the vote. Not sure about that. Funny you should ask. We got a small grant to have the house inspected and, as a result of that, discovered a small crack leading from the front door to the basement. Much thinner air here, although the nation's salt and pepper sprinkle the neighborhood. Hose her down. Keep trying to creep out. Test ingot possibilities. Recently in the stores, I spotted preppy garbage. Grew a 10-gallon hat, shopping in the ruins. How it feels around the edges. Something you do for a moment. Brutally obnoxious. I like to know who's coming and going and not be bothered. Promised to wake him up in July. Still not doing anything to incur our attention? Then you have followed all of what we have to say. Cough it up. Little green cross-eyed sluts. No bricks. Just mortar. Ready for a takeover. The catalpus of reconciliation wilt. Proving, if little else, why a good presentation matters. The Ritz Brothers on Moonlight Bay. We talked about the great error that you can live with and really can't afford to get. It's Thanksgiving there, and besides, we might not have room for the next event to get the old juices flowing. A gay avalanche destroyed much of the town. Please, I thought we were winning. Set the wolves, the dogs, on her, that is, him. The stalled investigation proved otherwise. And give back the taxpayers' money. The space program cost too much anyway. Al and Harry had their moment in the sun. Oblivion swiftly followed, the universe playing catch-up, as it is wont to do. Oh, bugger the attendance record. I see a long line of attendees waiting, cock in hand. She thought it was lumbago. The handwriting on the wainscot pledged otherwise. All came from today backgrounds. A fistful of s'mores put death itself on the agenda for future discussion. How does that break down? Minutes happening? I don't think so. You stepping all over the sprinkles. By the bypass. Pucker your ankles. Don't freeze the weapons, or at this hour a lot of places are going to be cooling down. It's going to the fireside until things get better. They would never have anything to do with finding real estate. Get to me through sheer sense of place. 3 days packing fog, abducted, later released. She doesn't know how to get here. The same feeling is appealing. It's disruptive when our fans get ahead. Those who helped me understood henbane is box office poison. Same for mid-length weepies. Those who understand them don't necessarily understand, nor play favourites when the other children are near. You tittered like, is there something I'm not getting here? Oh, shut up and do it. He took advantage of her, me. What is that like in your life? It could never have happened. Come with me somewhere. Strange reaction. Our networks will be joining you in progress. Let's break for lunch here, dry-eyed, alarming, and see what everybody's talking about. We can always resume our travels for what they are, and if that is so, if they're fun and expensive, why not number them? Things sag if you make them, or not. Elders give up within the appointed time. Get your lifestyle together or something. Miles from here, much of it downstairs. Go lie on the couch. Why you scheming? From the cast-iron villas of the sanctimonious to the feathered huts of the poor in spirit, a hush fringed all night. Dawn put in her 2 cents. By then we were deep in imagination. Storks and secretary birds rose in a single wave, charming in its generality. A pink jumper stroked the trees. So, where were you? This was it? What we got all cleaned up for? Tomorrow will rob today of croutons, I don't think. Tall order. The narrative got punctured. On a rainy night, you can spot a missionary. though I don't think it's stupid enough to get lathered up about. The revenuers came after the affordables, and all was Durkenander, like I say, it was. Burn every newspaper in the country. But if that's not possible, well, I'll keep it between my legs, or some other barnyard denizen. It was him who got into some scrape yesterday. We knew all along he had followed the corrugated path, picking up crumbs like there was no tomorrow, which there isn't. But as long as you're here, we may as well begin. Botched rollout. Friends of the Tao curtail fancy matters. Are you an in-depth person, proud and sad? Okay, I'll be pleasant. That's how I kind of fixed it. Both of our kids were unlikable characters. I could hear you perfectly with the shades drawn, you big man. 2 sisters, one permanently claims, with a bit of practice, the high estate behind Smilax. She's plain, very collectible, so the estimate bill can go directly to him, heading home from work. Is that little brain you've given me ever going to ring, that piece of arrogance? Which way to the weepin'? The act of repositioning downward has been pretty much mothballed. So I would tell the fish story. Why stop to tell the president? If one is halfway lost in a demented woodland, what about the new book? Any thoughts? I bet Mr. Wrigley appreciates that. The cloud of knowing. There are those who would have paid that. The amount your eyes bonded with, oh, spangled home. We'll have to work it out in a room, like they have certain chairs set up together, which were violet. We all have to fail at end of days, yet not so pronto, she said. And lo, it was like a breeze of vacuum, beyond the stiff perimeters already granted us. A whole goes, and then a whole lot. Most valuably, no one writes a letter to those sprinting up ahead who wouldn't read it anyway. In Dodge and other windswept places, the evening news took pride of place. Attentates were back. Parental concern loomed. Peckers swollen by the rainforest beckoned. Many liberals and even some conservatives called for a business replacement. Geez, you guys, can't you hum anything? What about little Elfrida? He's not the famous young person I knew. That one had a lot of little bits in it, you know, soothing, from home. A minefield. Chafed elbows. A filthy compromise. Pass the planchette. My friends and I are going to have to leave it here about the enemy getting married. And he gave me a whole new list of dodgems to avoid. The non-jury selection didn't please him, then, nor afterward. No, he doesn't like the shades down. What do you need doctor appointments for? Changes in linen are then, as now, optional. Bernoulli was a Swiss architect. Mathematician? Maybe. Bunch of stuff. To all events I squirted you, knowing this not to be, this came to pass, when we were out, and it looked good. Why wouldn't you want a fresh piece of outlook to stand in down the years? See your house? A former human energy construction. Crashed with us for a few days in May. And sure enough, the polar inscape brought about some easier poems, which I guessed was a good thing. At least some of us were relaxed. Steamboat Bill included. He didn't drink nothing. It was one thing to be ready for their challenge, quite another to accept it. And if I had a piece of advice for you, this is it. Poke fun at balm, then suffer lethargy, to irradiate its shallow flood in the new packaging our enemies processed. They should know. The Gold Dust twins never stopped supplicating Hoosiers to limn the trail. There's no Shakespeare. Through the window, Casanova. Couldn't get to sleep in the dumb incident of those days, crimping the frozen feet of Lincoln. East February. Out there, the air is moist. I can tell walking through it. Thank you so much for coming in. It's late, isn't it? Almost grotesque. My crew will be in touch. Not expecting friends that you don't know yet are coming. Foxtrot, performance art that I gaze on so fondly today, this hymn to dowdiness, howdy-doody shaped. A mouse can show what works, even if no one knows why, he said. Heading out. A single drop fills the rainbow glass. The fountain overflows. How come the purr and passing of this every night arrives at stealth? Just be prepared. If it happens every day around this time, it happens more than twice. I'd wager this one has nothing in it. So's your old man. We get called out often and all kinds of suspicious business, he decried. Like when the kittens arrived, le grand moment. Or when the kitchen sagged with the weight of the kitchen garden. You and she shouldn't be out around now, yet nothing I would say inflicts your stalking, be it antelope or addex or any number of valuable and not so permanent entries in the lifestyle sweepstakes. Some were summoned at the sound of a great drum and could not put off their walking. Whenever they're drunk, a ghastly change invades the headlines. Here or elsewhere, both rank object and sturdy cult fixture, everything fits, and finding its place, loses it. Yet so much memory is stored in this little bin, we'd be sure to trip over it, if that were allowed. I was in here 2.5 years, missed the inauguration. Hundreds of witnesses could have sent you the heaviest rain. I'll go over there sometime and try. The leader had been staring fervently, like some Lutheran tea party, as though everyone and his mother was to shut up. Like that. What's more, the responsibility of that miscarries when it is rubber. Yo, Temple, hear what I'm saying? By the way, have you turned off this? Well, I don't know what to tell you about it. Well, I was talking about it. Doxology, sockdologer. On French radio, we're trying to take a bad kind of thing and close up at school. Own the blankness. Your napkin ring is bitch-slapping America. Can't take them out. The place was above all creative. Do you want these up? Bona fide curlicues everyone talks about. The song of mud, learning to handle it. Farm hubbub. They will always be building buildings. That time in the good mountains I spent, flea markets we went to. Their appetizer, chintz, salvageable mutts. Anyway, that's what it means. Don't get all pushed out of shape. And there she was. Their new technique designed to stop us, or at least infringe, in some tilapia joint. Porcelain tools make it all right. No use. It's fighting again. The great collapsible retro. Stupid petals. Remark the comparative zip and panache of those beautiful hammerhead sharks. Farther down we get into reptiles. The Bucket of Mud Club. I don't even know if there was a Klondike Scotty. Lamassu, a protective deity sketched by Gutzon Borglum, intervened twice, and you could, one of the top. Our weatherologist is here. You're talking to myself. A slave never forgets its name. I can put it off right now. Summon your blasphemous magician friend. So he's not 38 yet. Sure, Mario had a dentist appointment. So's your old man run weapons through your eyes. I wanted to read that book. Close the circus. We don't speak to John again, and there's a lot of them. Like other millennials, I could get you a line. I wish I had been there. Days you want to be careful, you still have to live here. Shopping wasn't safe. OMG. A Fortuny slick, basking on uninterested waters, turns to leave. But it's not over. Thareet. Kiss me. I'm sick. Todd Colby. Friday and baffled. Nothing wrong with you, just get me arrested, because when you haven't seen someone, nights become very respectful. Hers were not usually submitted to in our living room. Just rub your hands there. Fee cagliostro. We circled down, rules of honey. If that is a black watch, a noticeable gift to the hall where too much happens. You are the whole in your tight truths. You need all 27 of them. Convenient here last night. The lemon on the Archduke. What is he? A fuzzy, jumping old man? Exact living requires that you talk to, but don't even touch me. Professional raiders interpret all of it. When do they turn them over? Quiet and adversarial at once. A lifeless man, they say. Onward to Christian bathrooms. Weak continuity, walk celerity, or celebrity. Good luck. You'll look back on heavy rain and think you were kept from enjoying us and thrusting. Let the birds run with the trees. A beautiful day, and marine historians complained we're all safe from there on in of innocent people's headaches. Once stapled correctly to your uncle, scones are seduced. Forget any mistranslations, miscommunications. The past loves you, baby. Go sandpaper a horse. 11th pleasantry. Once the giant tickler is out of your system, its equipment equivalent will be brought for you. Use it for goat seed. 2 solutions. Plagiarizes his own authors. For shame. Dopey music all the time. All those don't render the house unresonant. Do what I can in this unsuccessful world. Don't smile that way. Rambling statement. You can go out and talk to someone or pick at your face. Working through these issues. Move in with us. Kitchen police talked about getting ready the way it was intended to be. Any muscles would have stood out at that horse. Taco burger counseling, all that spunky food, the Christmas tree. Where did that go? Pettifoggery or not? Catalyst construction continued about 2 feet away. They used it for language that somebody said once. Don't answer it. Leave things where they are. Customs, douane, displays of llama butter, stingy pretty. Your deductible. He was famous for riding around town in a black hat. He suffered a long time ago and will love you forever. The enthusiasts. That building has won over everything. Here in high school, opportunities are numerous. But what are they for? You could live like a girl of 13 in a single dream, quash outside solicitations, go back to sleep every time. This is outside and remiss. It takes tools to deploy the core of your dream, face a common ford others have crossed too, on Saratoga waters, now and again imbibing notes of lemongrass and coconut. I told him we don't get anything from North Dakota. Bilingual bullying was on the next floor. We had the most beautiful morning and afternoon. We just had lunch with Dean Pavlov's proxy, the entire breeze, right on the tabletop here. They're not going to sue their money. Accident waiting to happen, which you would need anyway. Leonard doesn't take himself for just anybody. Ah, soit alors, ma passe du tout. A very good guide, no doubt, bringing up fine images in the guts of the past. Occupy it by dint of occupying it. I was saying that to you when plotting new frescoes. It was a comestible kind of love. Get in and learn something. Go smack it to Mrs. Duvet. The Hart's buildings, simply ripping. Half a building up, and we need many. Lock yourself in the lugubrious gondola. He was just standing over there, talking to them. Dramedy. Things I left on your paper. One of the craziest episodes that ever overtook me. Do you like espionage? A wadded charm? My podcast aside, I'll walk in the human street, protect the old jib from new miniseries. I could swear it moved in incomplete backyards to endorse the conversation. Request to be strapped in. Then it will be time to take the step, giving fragile responses. And finally, he wrote the day. It happened in the water, so that was nice. It comes ready conflated. Vanilla for get lost. Flavor of the time of a sponsor's destiny. Be on that sofa. I was crossing the state line as they were reburying the stuff. You break the time lock, the bride's canister, but we did say that we'd be back. The undefinable journey. Where do you think you're going to get lines to punish the stranger with? Cursing, Destiny's pinata. It's a surprise. Partly sunny. Oh, neato, friend of mine. To add a central target to the mix is not to chase sea monsters, real or imagined. You drop the floor. Small white chicken friends, like life itself, overtime last night. And what have you done with this one? The Pie District. This is what we need to do at a certain point. Wait for it, Effendi. Examine cheesy knockoffs of dubious provenance. Are we ready to help yet? 4 negatives make a positive. I even joined City Hall. Waves of attentiveness and straight A's followed, but I was so crestfallen. The ship's little dog seemed to think so. He'd hung around impetuously. They're the ones to get somebody to do things, pick up after him. We'll see who finishes soon, in shock. There was nothing not to like about the new self-monitoring system. Yet strangely, the Pie District voted against it. I, however, custodian of Sangfroid, made a 180-degree swivel. The Bandonian keeps its goofy elixir locked in its dark depths. Thank you, by the way. I saw the daughter of his king and illustrator, Mrs. Walter H. Brown, streaking past the hedges, sparkling with dew, just as if it were another time. Lizzie Brown, I stammered, but she took no notice of me or the 100 or so other guests gathered on the lawn to salute spring. This is ominous. And yet, I managed to gasp. I'll have more of it for breakfast. 2 things that went up and never came back. I don't understand. That must have been about drinking. Feline intrigue. Can I go to my doctor now? The fan kids still chewing on a Fifth Avenue bar, which they may not make anymore, with or without Tood. It's been 3 years now. That's just it. We don't know. Do it the hard way, and we go out and visit. Domani, Dopo Domani. Once in a while, a message arrives here from friends we haven't seen in some time. Family members try to reach us to ask about old questions. Finally, each of us has some concern or other. I can hear the signs breaking up. To have half lived in a balloon to Fresno solves it, at least for now. Different. At home. After we've been in town a few days, and may have moved anywhere but within easy reach, this is kissing's only surface. Midday suction. It's savory. Let's devour, or do something about it. Rusty at the bottom before we came to this past. It was a moment, what can I say? The goofy ad. It wasn't my project to prize them apart. Pale Jessica had come full circle. Case in point, she spelled one application under presidential law. How it became one of the names, one can't recall. But on the other hand, good old people watch the convention. It's guaranteed, and not be president. People had yet to live and believe your own cameras, which it probably isn't going to, picking up the same thing. Premium hype. It's off ladle. While out driving in my car, repeating both of them, we'll pull together and, kind of interesting, that I heard you fix a lot more concentrated. It was all anybody could do. The Garda store fell through the cracks. Or if there was another way, I didn't know you were ticklish. With a little note which said, sing something subtle and insinuating. Ants go to jail. On the facial committee equipment, a woman by the name of Lottie Timms. This is the traditional way not to kiss at all. Queer subtext. I'm really not into the past. A zoo. Really not. Why are you doing that for me? You're in all my dreams, it seems. I could think of something. The angle of his shirt, perhaps. The shatterproof screen door. Elsewhere, in real cities, a few biographies postulate. The rare setback school holds. I saw young, freelancing orange juice in the desert, mythical ladies of China, another of those countries, fallen together. I wouldn't send her away. Don't get on a train like this, twisting one of her legs. You're very liberal. Well, I suppose so. It's something I imagined. You'd better decide what not to do. Everything is pop-up, my 3-time advisor said. He holds my ear. I'll be quite honest with you about it. A man alive. Please welcome him. Decent New Yorkers said I can't go his way. Supposedly I'm president. A wretch like me. I hadn't heard the word. Dickie's border vacation. Nobody knows whether I should stay here with you. The comics became devoted after his mother died. Cross-mentoring, peer-checking, peer coaching were brought on, with beans and leftovers. Like most books, this one puts a damper on me. On Sundays I used to populate. They were running out of steam, but didn't know it. Now we like it. My face is too young. Later politics would trample our undeveloped theses. Professor, I'm going to set you up again. Don't wheeze next time. Railroad elders would border on the interesting. Would have Lepchek, Spongy, Mr. Johnson, Hunt's Hall. These and others, swept to their doom over the solid-seeming railing, make for clouded sailing ahead. I'm going to start working on it, or the other. A rumble upstate said, no, they're not. I told them 8,600 times. You've got enough feet to refer to now, with mixed success. A drop in pressure, wine and fripperies is what I can do for you, drab gent. Do you want to eat those sunny idle cakes? If I can get a cancellation to feigned grand illness, alas, he likes to take care of each other. And I really do think that a poultice. Hey, I've been hungry for 2 seconds. You're staying without a gift. A lot of liquid from Latin hands will trickle down to the strange All's house, I affirm, to get back out of business. Morning glories, poppies, and they keep saying they want to hire. Me? Oh, I saw him throwing a glass of water around, told him not to participate. Whom did you involve? The Alps are for women, strictly speaking. It is definitely possible, in the Slavic station, to not be too sorry for her, or she would be putting up with it. Well, you don't want it. Perhaps no outcome. But impeccably located, shocking images in forests of creosote, making an event possible. It's special loaded with mine chips for the tri-state area. Dirt all election day. We made so much money. This is almost on the house. It was 1910. A fountain in the street. A pregnant ant circles the drain. Larry Fagan. Content is a glimpse. The fountain is dead. The meadows aren't open, for reasons best known to themselves, in case you asked. The refrigerator on the porch liked it. So too did Mrs. Roosevelt. Everybody's been so wonderful. More access, more experiences. Fact, the Badger State is composed of ferns and feathers. Wild rice grows there. The natives harvest it in boats, banging the stems with poles so it falls off and covers the floor of the boat. The undeserving river. The tour we went on was a house, actually. Kittens lived behind its clapboards, rarely issuing forth for food. A whole other hierarchy of beings was established there, who saw little need to attend to business, e.g., a letterhead. At times around 4 o'clock, a leaf pile would get blown by the wind. Except for that, the weather was mild, especially by comparison with what we thought we had already experienced in harder times, when things were just so. Gym equipment was underutilized, as always. In my notes, I had 3 or 4 things I wanted to draw to your attention, but it no longer seems important. I'll go out the way I came in, incidentally wishing you and yours a happy Christmas while we go visit our parent kids versus the people of Missouri in Raymond Veranda and his orchestra and turn up again. Be that way. Summoned to beach spot, says accused. The man said you needed a... And he may have been right. Here, I'll bring it over. Skipper takes credit. Well, let's hope so. The nodded reply come clear tomorrow morning. That didn't seem to be true. In the white shirt, less than a year ago, minute entries blown together, Weed House Sleep with Men comes after Not Too Bad. Married folks prefer the Texas burger. That was in August. Freeway caucuses, semi-official, done Dougs. The man said you needed to gain more customers. Less than a year ago, a giant crab in the sky above Tokyo whispers compassion. I know not what minds have fled. Oh, short of remembering, can you rate the coughs? And some of you are dead. Violence on the terrain. Where you headed for? By guess and by gosh. Oh, awaken with me, the inquiring goodbyes. Ooh, what a messy business, a tangle and a muddle, and made it seem quite interesting. He ticks them off. Leisure top, a different ride home, whispering in a way, whispered whiskers, so many of the things you have to share. But I was getting on, and that's what you don't need. I'm certainly sorry about scaring your king, if indeed that's what happened to him. You get peanuts and War and Peace, some in rags, some in jags, some in velvet gown. They want the other side of the printing plant. There were concerns. Say hi to Jorkage, leadership principles, urinary incompetence. Take that, perfect pitch, and say a word for the president, for the scholar magazines, papers, a streaming. Then you are interested in poetry. Flowers, restoration. Yes, the great residential palaces, the Porter Station on Pitt's Paloo. It all makes sense. Intentional. Me lie here with bonny complications from sometimes, the kind you wear. Her wide shoulders were born. The clean-up effort extended far beyond today's tousled landscape. What good did it do if everybody was away on business mostly, trying out olive oil shampoo? I, true geezers, paced the measured mile, in touch with my father's distinguished postal service, a flight risk. For the several hours it remained on sale, their co-producer. Anybody to take care of yourself breathes in the challenge. First I'm gonna brush my teeth. What happens next is anybody's mess. And, I might add, a real treat knowing you. Blueprints and others. The man across the street seems happy or pleased. Sometimes a porter evades the grounds. After you play a lot with the military, you are my own best customer. I've done 5 of that. Make my Halloween. Ask me not to say it. The old man wants to see you now. That's all right, but find your own. Do you want to stop using these? Last winning people told me to sit on the toilet. Do not put on others what you can put on yourself. How to be in the city, my loved one. Men in underwear. A biography field, like where we live in the mountains, are falling. Yes, I know you have. Troves of merchandise, boomer buzz. Hillbilly sculptures of the outside. They won't see anybody. Super Collider, past the Gaga experiments, to ginger high school thriller days. I wheel fragile issues. A fight on there, bulbous antennae. A herald carved alone in the archer position. Sweet. We had a few people over to celebrate the monotony of the new place. Meatless meatloaf. Roger, over to you. I took a piece of plain fool's cap, my American university, in Baku stationery. Sole thing to be underestimated here. And set down just words that wrote something. Probably as close as I want to keep to it. All the water and stringiness. It feels like Sunday today, but it's Saturday. What does Saturday feel like on Sunday? Not that it's that hard to remember. I'd always be grinning and opened. No protocol, heck, no manners on Flood Watch. She's one of the famed Gowanus sisters. It hasn't affected the weather yet. Do you get a sense of white table settings, the so-called vacant stare that afflicts them as adults on a sit-down strike? Listen up, Tenderfoot. Who says you need to be awake to appreciate poetry? The landlady, that's who. Where are they now? Separate hearings. 1. We'll put $100 million over the Burno chair. That I remembered seeing it after they couldn't find them. The principle of a lifetime. The oft-embargoed news. You're gonna do it now? In 1946, these men and all women, first, they won't see anybody. 2, already attempted, is not gonna hold you in there. The governor had an issue with it, eating their supplies. Any day as yesterday, one of Dad's geraniums, no more than a foot away, looking sane, and reveal herself just a little bit. Had been there for at least 9 years. Hope you haven't done anything outside. Ruffle theory. I'm the wardrobe expert. Electrocuted. You can't mean that. All those years, nothing but his blonde, ticking hair, and vote for him. Whomever. And then we never did hear much from him. He saw Henry Grey and came up over the road with money you collected. Start running around, otherwise it won't get done at all. That's just right reason, burning all the time. Soothing, temporary relief. Handsome and blue-eyed is what I'm talking about. Did we mention sensational? For me, those emigrants last. A bundle of windows. Kind of grief-stricken, were they? He was having an emergency, just what's on this morning. No word on whether reverse psychology worked. The price of eggs. No one remembers Mr. Coffee Nerves. His lap of beads, allegedly sitting there. Families with pets, help me with this. Something may disturb him. Sun's parody, the price of eggs. Raw orange. Who was that plant from? She somewhat evaporated. Would I laugh? You are not to be concerned about fish. Extreme ants polished our definition. In the hooded phase, a second ago, she may have broken loose only among the treatises of those provided for, and work behind them for dandies, for a princess, trained buggers, up to £13.5 million of dry goods sold. All that and more. Suddenly I couldn't believe you have to put it back. Must be intelligent. Bring sandwich money, whether British or American. We couldn't get enough cakes in our family. Something to make it worthwhile, some stance. You're like making amends, isn't it? Throw the book at him. It was nice everywhere else. A Caribbean shithole documentary told him softly, as in an evening sunset, into an emotional atmosphere, happy from gay. They say I hit the neck, thank you, down under the covers. If I'd Google, put eye drops into my personal window, Dapper Fred said. He pressed the healed corollary. This was, after all, his day away. With the accuracy of a speed knife, putting and placing on the line again, all foretold by Becky Mushroom, leaving us walking into afternoon. It was chaos like that, past our striated feet. Give me a break. No, I don't feel used, though I have a less than human face. The usual definition of fun is quite comfortable when they are. When you were happening to him, 19 barrels for 5 nights a week. You fallen roof, graphite and herbs, having a good time with us. Deluxe your pilot right now. Dr. Stinkhandler, this feeling of helplessness. All that and more, all hunched over-egged, frumpy alarm symptoms. Then pile it on like you wouldn't believe. The pretty pieces, 100 salads that led to the eye doctor, which led to the spa, dangerous water. There are 4 physical engineers, if you don't want something expensive on your writing table, could cauterize a tank, qualify for the purchase. We stopped yesterday with some pamphlets, overturned it to his grief. The story got mentioned, used to have scraps. Warm regards. I remember today like it was yesterday. Garrett Caples, Love is Made of Sky. You want to think about it. Everybody's frantic but Bob. A tunnel from under gave him a folded up photo of Dad. I'll get you there and provide you with the little you know to measure somebody. I'm not hanging out with you, generous to a fault. By and large, when we talk about foot sizes. Somebody said it was about 10. He didn't say it didn't, and it would be there for maybe half an hour. Do you want it? There's some type of instructions in November last year. In Nova Scotia, people lost one every night. Been out there shaking. Don't think that you want to get out. The young men are building a boat. Definitely a freedom container. That's what he does. Ordered some wine. It was right around here. Replaced by a little kid. Come to see what you're getting at. We'll requisition him. There were preconditions. This is unusual, morphs into these other things, this modern age, a lot of finishing up to do. The honor roll. Jake came lurching toward me. Was it this month? No, it was last month. I see. Then why did I leave the research open? As you came along the hall, I thought of a lot of things. Then this day, Valentine's Day, which it isn't, but there are a lot of big spare pumps around. A new desire. Not so good anymore. Post-avant-garde. How's that? Find anybody still puzzled up? Your marshalled feet were on the stage. If you could save our container. In Pennsylvania, in October, the fire broke out, declared itself. We drank the grass, drunken fish, in servile mode. An antique something about it. You'll have to pay for brunch. I'm too excited. Milk and carrots from the editor at My Beloved Sierras. It passed inspection, or they'll have found that too. Fully understand. Gonna close sometime. Pudgy rules. Hyper Airlines. Lifter upper. A boomlet, so he said. There goes another one belies any significant pause, and everyone at home, officials stressed. Don't slide down the ones John says they still aren't using. The worst driveway in Western Connecticut. He's right. It shouldn't do anything. Culprit choose. Why many have passed on to the sun. Homeschooled. That was never an issue. That is, it was, and it wasn't. I'm supposed to be angry about something. Only you know what it is. Born ahead of time. Headbangers all. You have to have some Elmer's crayon juice. Did you want to hang out a little bit first at my house? We were just talking about. The quiet street is flagged. He gets into everything. I used to sing a song. He tried a few months ago, explains Billy. No, it just happened that way. The new boxy silhouettes. I'm in touch with you, and I'm not going to let you go. Stay off that leg. The sponge of sleep. Why waver? He won't stab me for when we sat down, widely pixelated between the horizon and the lice. We're off to the sea, someone said. Let's direct it to us and our various enjoyment. I hate it when we're made of snot 1 minute, stone so simple the next. I would think first, and then we were there, sooner other than that. All this could have been avoided if we aren't doing anything. Service berries shot down by squirrels. You don't have to thank everybody. The charm of abuse sings in ways we are not. Or we can sit and travel, aimless ceremony. I paint feet. Summer pants. A wave of translation on the apples. Like the friendly air out there. If they do so disproportionately to his 3-year-old brother-in-law, who patted the expats in a purgatorial whisper. The inside of the crate had expanded exponentially from carrying 1 load of artichokes. Be one of those on whom nothing is lost, advises Henry. Well, okay, I'm awake. No problem that I can see, unless it's running out of raw material, like his dog Jerry opted out of the transubstantiation process. It was ever thus. Cabochon Pluets weighted down with ananas and Bellevue. They drank Salada tea in a statement. We just gotta keep that stranded one safe as before, and getting out of here. How far is the old log in? I'd love to read it. The woods are sorry for them. Small rain will land somewhere. Colours. You should see through the ride. At least that is the argument I've been hearing. A misery at every time of night, including ghost calculus. Yep, what a story. Keep on the trails. And of course, if you roll it all out right at the start, you've got leftover motives to account for the window signature. Maybe even some other decimal system. Who said not to elaborate when there's a surplus of evidence? Not the man on the moon, surely. Steady compromise. Been reading The Hole in the Blanket by Mr. Completely. Already hailed for his seminal The Spot on the Wall. I don't know if you ever tried to. Telethon, once it starts, we get answers phoned in from all over. David's not worried, and if he's not worried, nobody else should be either. Banner with strange device. Locker room privacy, since many have different opinions. Rob its family member. Liberty Hall, indeed. Gravy for the prisoners. I wouldn't try to capture it on the page or in a blog, the inauspicious leavings of a day, closer to dream than the hum of streets and people who once walked along them. Yeah, I know. Know what I'm saying? The grounds were ultimately too large for the compound. A tree takes flight, and patterns are coaxed into recurring on adjacent walls, out of thin air. No such titan ever visited during my days as Edile, yet wisps still buttonhole us in random motes. Was it this you were expecting? And if not, why not? Glove compartment. Did they mention a shoal? Nicholas Hundley, Gothic novel. For treasonable us, we sold my brotherhood down the stream. I'm always surprised at how green-tempered you are toward other frog-related chains of weeks or months or whatever you call them. He devoted Christmas Day to finding out all the news about Mama and their 3 puppies. The foundry was out and would have to be relit. 19 years is enough. It's not overcrowded until the day we go to the farm places, blank pill. Silence is everywhere, like silence is suspect, she being, we'll try to get home, throughout the air. I don't want to have to speak to you again, and have to unveil you called her. Can't they stay generated? We're not going to start today, because that is awesome, which in turn stirs up the system, and we are ready, and we're still not smart. Put it up a little to the great cleansing wind, a gay fat guest, or getting my train elected. Can I be a medicine, the innocence collected now, that's not Interestingly enough, the easiest way to do it is her suit sent me a bunch of little "Let my song fill your heart." It's more than I wanted. I had always wanted to do just the right thing and fit in with the "From more dishonest fences loomed the present." I didn't have leave to be the only justice that gets through. It's so exhausting being a medium, especially the 94th military one. Atta bugger. He belongs in passports now. The productivity panel has its view. Undressing her was unfunny biscuit routine. His share of the opera betokens carriages. Just can't live anymore. Always happy to shoot the breeze. Pushover. Moreover, they'd like to have at least an important committee. Whispers should plainly open up. Next, a tax on everything. Does that make sense? It's when your father was formed. There's the weather and all those dogs or something. Space could only hurt him or agree with him. Moving on to Western Coney Island, sprawling temperatures suggest we apologize for any inconvenience. Or you could chew on it another time. Honestly, we could send you out there to join the cackle squad. But hey, that highly accomplished, thinly regarded equestrian, well, there was no way he was going to join the others' field trip. Wouldn't put his head on the table. But here's the thing. They had owned Great Dread, knew of a way to get away from here through ice and smoke, always clutching her fingers like it says to do. Once we were passionate about the police, yawned in the teeth of pixels, but a far rumour blanked us out. We bathed in moonshine. Now, experts disagree. Were we unhappy or sublime? We'll have to wait until the next time an angel comes rapping at the door to rejoice docently. I know there's a way to do this. Front and pearl. This time it set off a lemon telenovela. Chickens bolted. Bummer. Just then the buzzer sounded. No subtle dorks ministered to it. No longer podgy, all get off free. It was a regular route, she encouraged. Sweet Alyssum, you see, just doesn't cut it for me. The Wall Street crash of 1929 hit us both hard. That would be a fine way to conduct things, to bring it here, referring to the doctor. The long Hudson Valley flows along, beside it, the river, I mean. She was the lemon target of reality. Here, I'll do the butcher. Yes, the sun has officially set. Until tomorrow. The cathedral had an unfinished look to it. What will you dream of? 2 months after we breathed? I don't know, but what he'd cut us for the longest time. Glance through your tendonitis sheath. You'll find everything in order and turn up again. The nurses are getting nervous. Psychic bitters. Did he describe the blue stripe again? Unelected governor. And from trees to hospitals, one story perfectly formed, suddenly entered into eternal rest. They won't have any additional waves around the hotel. Who won't have been here long enough because somebody got the idea, nor would a duck deal with holiday baking and the like. A drugstore in Duluth. Rejiggered, shy as I was, after thinking I've won, it came to pass. There were no more attentive gestures. That may be part of the joke. Restaurants will reopen, many buried in the county exit. Be not beseeched. Door muscles. An unholy fragrance borders the faces on the tree. An inspector on a leash rinsed the iconostasis. From the electric counties, I sent it with his clothes. Oh, happy gloom, besotted with interiors, Dutch still lifes circle the pole. Sombre, heroique. You would probably know them if you were stressed. You were nice, safe, and strong. These things get appreciated, unearned, unfathomed. But last night he wasn't so happy about it. Joining us in a statement is the former governor, arrested, asserted, in melted fruition, to be crisply doomed. Not for a long, long time. Don't touch this stuff. It was a debate, unless, of this, that, and the other. Drunks in the night, Arctic suburb, party in an igloo. I exercise, seeking alliance, here or there, like any sauce or syrup. You would probably know them if you were stressed, and not be able to know that. That's what you believe. Position paper. This is my outfit. Government spooks did the rest. Didn't you know? Not really. No one is in a hairier place. My flat mountain. I'm gonna have dinner some night on the ropes. Bottom line, no one was killed. That way you retain ownership. Droopy night brought on by the old grey mould makers. It was quite unexpected. That's why I think it's so important, the way squat noses learn, and fast. Okie doke, I'll tell you in maple shade. Fast forward to the beginning of your Christmas present. I have to turn this down to clean his pipes, or clock, whatever. That's a healing dressing. How many years late? The continuous way to do it. Sorry, my dizzy. Pulled pork sliders, clogged the glee gate. No one was killed. Having a nightgown under the armpits, darling? Dirt and dare can be forgiven eyeball in the toiletry lottery, whose talk proclaims it other. Forget where I heard it. With pigeon force, the airmen come clattering. It would be sad if it wasn't so funny, one swore. Stay out of the nettles. Do not live above the shop. His men may find you there. Otherwise, as Coma says, my beans, my peas, my coma get read into the riot act. That comes later. After 3 decades of futility, you have to ask, who was this composer? Was he known for anything else? Is the mere survival of the notes justified, or do we all survive this way, more or less? Cheap legs. His wives liked him. To be comfortable in his facial hair is as much and as little of a man as one can ask. Languid articles, you don't know where or what brought us to the party. Exchange trivial sorrow for one big one, just as the old man had predicted. The moon, daubed an inauspicious hue, that night was determined to see it through, make an end run around darkness, someone said. As long as there were 2 of them, it didn't matter, or mattered in another way, like momentum. And who's to say we didn't gradually understand our situation along with everyone else's? The way a whole city, standing, radiates glee. The morning after, that's who. Be careful what you wish for. Exurb. What were you driving at when you said? Used to joke I'm in the retirement business. The snow is beginning to fall again. I'm wondering whether I should go out. How can you give orders when nobody is listening? A friend and 2 boys. Here where love was quiet, it was possible to think discontinuously of the folds ahead, faith on a tricycle. Only it. Or she got a hole in her dress. It was 1,000,000 to 1 it was something bad. The windows rattled as the train swept through at breakfast. You may want to rethink that decision. Bother the others. It was right there in his military book. You would have 2 Oracle Snow. You knew that. Everybody did. My Dynasty, Confessions of a Lily from Wire. That was a terrible thing to do, purely naked. Grovelling conditions apply, not to go all agony aunt on you. You're not ready for this. No poet is, only you already came. The crane doesn't know if the weather will return. I don't want it. I don't give a shit. Something that would have fell. The potato orchard with attached oriental kitchen. They don't say please in heaven. All business is carried out in the pre-noon hours, leaving time for naps and reflection. This is the kind of life I was supposed to lead. What happened, you ask? Cutie pie went bye-bye. Once the hypnotic hour of 12 has struck you, are like any other paying guest, waiting for the intoxicating smell of burgers to waft up the stairway. When Doc moved back to our area, he noticed the wretched smiles, legacy of our previous god. Who, he wondered, enjoys this kind of ambience? And sure enough, it was Independence Day, and word went out. It's the right day but the wrong month. Go back to sleep. And they did, writing in the grass. The fuller brushman, clean-jawed, stopped by. See you down there. Let me know. Just because Scooby-Doo thinks you should. Dirt officials employed a small little bomb and sleep trying to find them. Now I approve not just Initiative A13, but the whole dumb panoply. Uncle Ralph, sign me up for festooned. They say she was last seen by a lake, crying. You knew that. Everybody did. A sweet disorder. Pardon my sarong. I'll have a Shirley Temple. Certainly, sir. Do you want a cherry with that? I guess so. It's part of it, isn't it? Strictly speaking, yes. Some of them likes it, others not so much. Well, I'll have a cherry. I could be forgiving for not knowing it's de rigueur. In my commuter mug, please. Certainly. He doesn't even remember me. It was a nice, beautiful day. One of your favorite foxtrots was on. Neckties they used to wear. You could rely on that. My gosh, it's already 7:30. Are these our containers? Pardon my past, because, it was like all one piece. I can't have escaped your attention, that I would argue. How was it supposed to look? Do I wake or sleep?